Hello and what is up, and welcome to episode 328 of the Center Ring Esports podcast presented by Alt. And this is going to be the best episode ever because we have special guest head coach of the Dallas Empire, Rambo, joining us later in the show. Talk a little bit about the league coming back to LAN and their season thus far. Also, it is Monday, so of course we have Yikes of the Week and a lot of CS drama all of a sudden between maybe not the most likely of candidates. So we'll discuss that as well. Of course, wrap up with some e-news. But before we get to any of that, let's tell you about the show's sponsor in Alt Esports. That's ULT Esports. I'm sure you already know this because we beat it into your heads every show. But they are the best thing that you can spend your money on in the world of clothing and esports. You'll look fresh, you'll feel good, but more importantly, you'll look good. And that's really what matters in today's society, is what you look like, as far as we're told. So head over to altesports.com. You can pick yourself up a 101 Burglars hoodie brought to you by your very own TCR. Hey, that's us. Also, their summer release has kind of just been out there as well. You can get some tie-dye shorts. Matching that tie-dye hoodie that you probably bought over the winter. Look hella fresh. All that can be done at altesports.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? Rambo here, coach and GM of the Dallas Empire, and you're listening to the Center Ring.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome. Welcome back to another edition of the Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast, presented by Alt. Episode 328, coming to you live and or pre-recorded from an undisclosed location. The date, May 16th, 2021. The time, 9:08 p.m. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter at The Center Ring, as well as joining our Discord. Be a part of that conversation. And our website, tcr.gg, has some other fun stuff for you there. More importantly, though, if you're listening on any device or outlet that lets you leave a review, why don't you do that for us? We definitely appreciate it. iTunes, whatever, what have you. If you listen on Google Podcasts, and it's acting funny, know that we're working on it. We've emailed Google. Apparently our feed is not updating as frequently as it should, as I'm told by one listener, so maybe it was an isolated issue. But we are a show for the listeners, so all it takes is one. So I emailed them. It's TBD as far as when it will get fixed. My name is Tim. I'll be your captain for this journey into esports. But alongside me, as always, is my best friend, my brown friend. It's Anuj. What's up?
On a champ Sunday, Counter-Strike is king today. Lit the world on fire this week.
Yeah, it's I was thinking that too, because I was watching all of Call of Duty, and I was like, it's a shame because we're not going to talk about this at all, apart from e-news.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad because it deserves more time because the event was actually pretty badass, and there's a lot to even get in, so maybe we dive in later on at some point into that. But with what's going on in Counter-Strike, I was like giddy for the show today. I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be fun to discuss because I'm so curious to hear. What would you do in this situation?
Yeah, and I can't wait to tell you, because I'm sure you probably have an idea on what I would do. But we'll discuss more of that later. Real quick, before we get into some Yikes of the Week, thank you everyone who showed up for community night. It was
that was fun. That was a good time.
Hell of a night. It worked out well. We had a lot of people show up, enough to run some privates and, unranked in certain games. So the results wouldn't represent that it was a fun time.
No,
we went winless.
Not at all.
And also, while going winless, played the worst set of maps we could possibly play. We played Valorant and played.
See, I was okay with Breeze, but it was new to some of the people we played with, so that was really unfortunate. That was the first map that we got.
And that's the issue. I'm not anti-Breeze. In fact, I actually like Breeze. I know a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
I think that's new map syndrome, first of all. I think a lot of the people who are saying it's a trash map, it's new map syndrome. You know, like you're just not used to it, and it's a very different map. That being said, you're right. We had like 2 guys that we were playing with that had never played it before, and we were up against 2 guys that knew every angle and placement for a Sova dart and, turret that you could think of. So that sucked.
It was impressive how good the other team, how well educated, I should say, the other team was of that map, of all the games. And then we had a guy that doesn't even play Valorant, and he didn't even know how to use his abilities on his character. So that made for a tough outing in Valorant. Then we switched over to CS, and our whole goal, we were playing Face It, our whole goal was to set up the veto to get Ancient. That's all we wanted to play. We wanted to play the new map. We thought it'd be fun. All of the people that were playing were kind of Counter-Strike nutheads, so it would have been a good time. So we started banning all the obvious choices, the popular maps, your Dust 2s, Mirage, Overpass, banned all these out. It comes down to them choosing Train, Nuke, or Ancient on the ban. And they banned Ancient at like the last possible minute. I thought that was a crappy thing to do. It's like they knew what we were probably doing, and they saved it for their last ban. So we ended up playing Nuke, which that blew like really bad because once again we played. I guess Nip had a little extra free time because they were scrimming at the same time we were playing, and so that was also a pretty crappy outing too. But it was fun. I really enjoyed it with the guys.
Yeah. So a little update on how we're going to do community nights moving forward is. Before, it was kind of like we just would select a random weekend if we even could, because we're very busy family men. So 99% of the time we couldn't do it, right? Go figure, our family wants to see us. So I think what we decided, and I liked how it worked this last time, is we are just going to pick a Wednesday that we would typically record an episode on, and then just not record an episode, but do a community night and play some games with everyone on that chosen Wednesday.
Typically, that'll just be saved for like what we would consider a really slow news cycle Wednesday. So some of these might be shorter notice. Ideally, we give a couple of weeks if we can do that, but that's hard to do depending on what comes up and what there is to talk about. So we'll try to give as much notice as we can there. But yeah, we think it just works a little bit better in place of like a slow Wednesday.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, so it won't be like, oh, well, it's going to be the first Wednesday of every month. I'm not going to say that because Lord knows then it turns around and like a major is the next weekend, and well, we want to talk about the major on the Wednesday, right? Yeah. So it just, for the sake of it, much like, if you listen to us for a long time, you already know we don't really have a plan. It's same thing. We don't really have a plan. We just know it's going to be a Wednesday. When it's slow, we'll do community days.
Yeah, it'll never really happen on Sundays because there's always too much going on there.
Yeah, always too much going on. But so anyone who showed up for the community night, appreciate it. Thank you so much, and we'll definitely see you guys in the next one. And also, if for anyone who listens and you want to be a community night, maybe you're like, but you guys always play an FPS. Hit us up with what games you'd want to play. If you want to do Rocket League, it's free to play. If you want to do, even if it's just playing Among Us or some, chill game. It doesn't always have to be.
We're down for really any type of game. I mean, that's the good thing I think about how Tim and I get along so well in our gaming life is we're really down to play anything. We play a lot of FPS, but we'll explore any game out there. So if there's something even new, or even if it's cheap, doesn't matter if we have to pay a little bit. We're down to throw it into the mix and mix up community night a little bit. It just happens to be we got a bunch of FPSers on for the most part.
Right.
And Joey.
Listen. God bless Joey. He is not an FPSer. In fact, he might be worse than Brett when it comes to first-person shooters.
But the only difference is if we went into Joey's realm and we're like, hey, let's play like League together, he would whoop our ass.
100%. For how bad he is at shooters, I'm 1,000 times more worse at MOBAs. So
Yeah. The Joey is what we call a team player. Like he just comes to join the team and he wants to roll with the boys, and we always appreciate that.
yeah. I've never seen someone shake as much as he is though when he shoots.
It's like he's doing lines of Adderall while he's playing.
It's like an earthquake conveniently hits him every time he has to shoot his gun. And it just goes all over the place. Love the guy though. Love the guy. So there you go. Just keep a heads up. Also, with that being said, we'll always announce it in our Discord. I created a section in our Discord for announcements. Heads up on everyone. I am now that guy, and I hate myself for it, but it's also our Discord. So I assume if you're in it, you care. I'm going to post and at all everyone when I make an announcement. If that annoys you, mute at all messages in the Discord. I do it on literally every single Discord we join, except for ours. So don't feel bad. You can mute it. That's fine. But
we're also not going to spam you with stuff. It will literally be for community night
community
days
nights, maybe no show announcements, things like that. But we'll keep it low, because the thing I hate most is when you join a new Discord and then all of a sudden you just get blasted with all messages from the hosts or from the admins. So not going to do that. But anyways, there's that. So just a little show news updates for you. All right, so let's get into the actual show with some yikes of the week. I'll start with mine. Unless you wanted to start with yours. Don't let me.
Go ahead.
So, yikes of the week. This comes from the land of Fortnite, I guess you could say. Anuj, Clicks. Do you know who Clicks is?
Yeah, he's very good.
Very good, very popular in the Fortnite world. Well, he has gotten his creator code removed from Fortnite store. Epic went ahead and removed it, saying it was over breaking terms of service and a tweet. He claimed he didn't know which tweet it was. Then they said, okay, this was the tweet. Amazing, a company actually responding to you on why you were banned. Imagine that, Twitch, telling people why they were banned. Well, Anuj, I'm a newsman. I report and I read the news. So I'm going to read you the tweet that got Clicks' creator code removed. And for those who don't know what the creator code is, it's very important for people. Like, if you have a creator code, you made it. Like, you're in. In fact, in the same week that he got his removed, Ninja said that he was making upwards of $5 million a month just from his creator code in his heyday of Fortnite. So this isn't just like hey, use code TCR and get 10% off type of bullshit. No, this is like legit.
This is like they're getting a lot of money from this, right? So it's a great program. Like, compliments to Fortnite on having a program where you can get that much from it. Like that's an incredible number that Ninja threw out there. And you're right, the timing is so terrible for Clicks for this to happen literally 2 days after.
Yeah,
I think Ninja mentioned it on stream.
Don't know if Clicks was making Ninja money, but I'm sure he was making good money from it.
Yeah.
So this is the tweet, Anuj, and I will preface this. Again, I'm a newsman. I'm going to read this verbatim, word for word, because that's what the people deserve. I'm also going to say, I don't understand any of it. So he says this was a joke. And hey, you know what? What's my number one rule on the show? We don't kink shame. Maybe this isn't a joke and he's really into it. That's fine. In fact, I'd be more understanding if this was his kink than the joke part. But I'm also a boomer, right? I'm a dad. So I've officially turned the corner and hit the age and time in life where I don't get the youth. And I think this is, there's times in life for us old people, we know this. When you get old and you realize that you're old, this I think is one of them when I'm like, I don't get it.
Yeah, like I understand what he's saying. I just don't get the joke part of it.
I don't get, I don't.
Yeah,
why
like I know what he's saying in his tweet. I just don't.
Why you would ever tweet it? So this is the tweet.
What were you doing when you tweeted this?
Right.
This
is the tweet. I'm so down bad. I told a girl to come over. When she came, I slipped laxatives in her drink. When she went to the bathroom, I made sure to clog the toilet pipes so her shit would stay. I eat out of that toilet every day.
Can you imagine like explaining to your manager, this is why I got banned?
Like,
Like just
hey,
this tweet right here is gonna cost me millions of dollars over
right.
time, I'm sure.
Like, hey, you know that like $3 million check I was getting every month? We might not see that anymore because I sent out a tweet and the manager was like, "Oh my god, like listen, was it the N-word? We can get by the N-word. We can fix that. Okay? Was it a racial slur? Like what was it? What can we work with here?" And then he shows him this and the manager's like, "Yeah, dude, I got nothing."
Like I literally can't help you right now. It sucks. I mean, he's come out and he's apologized a lot, and he does sound fairly genuine that he's learned his lesson. Now, I'm sure like he's young. It's not like he made stupid jokes. I wouldn't tweet this out.
That's what I don't
You
like.
know,
It's not like this was anything outrageous. I mean, I look from like
the
a
worst
person,
thing here is him talking about slipping something into a girl's drink. Right?
right?
He can eat somebody's shit if he wants to.
That's what I said.
Like,
I don't kink shame. If you're into that, I have more power to you.
Yeah, it's a slipping laxatives into a drink that I think got him in trouble here. I don't think Fortnite would have came out and banned him if it just said, "I eat girl shit." Period. Like,
Yeah, because overall,
they
the
wouldn't have
tweet
taken his code
does not
away.
offend me in one bit, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I obviously read that the first time around, and I thought, yeah, okay, he's joking, and he says he's joking. I don't know if it was like a shock value joke. I don't know the joke part of it, but I'm just gonna chalk that up to we're both over 30 years old with kids, and we just don't get it.
That's more than likely. Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna assume there is some 14-year-old follower of Clicks who just this was like the funniest thing in the world to him.
You
And
posted the tweet here in chat. I would have loved to see the likes and retweets on that.
and keep in mind, and I actually had no idea Clicks was this young. I thought he was like 18. He's 16 years old. So I do feel for him in the sense of like, when you are a kid, you're gonna do some stupid shit. You're gonna tweet some stuff out. In fact, I thank God every day that social media was not a thing when I was 16, because Lord knows what me and my friends would have tweeted out thinking it was really funny.
3 Doors Down lyrics.
Oh yeah, just Nickelback
Sublime.
all the time. Things that we would have thought were funny. I don't think at any point in my life though would I have said that. I don't think at any
Yeah.
point
No,
would I have been
no,
like,
no.
guys, check this out. I have this really funny joke, and they'd be like, so
Like, what's wrong with you?
I can't wait for, say, 50 years down the road, and he is 66 years old, and he's got grandkids, and they are like, wow, Daddy, you were a professional gamer, or Granddad, you were a professional gamer, and they Google him, and this is the first thing that pops up, and he's gonna have to explain to his grandkids where it all went wrong.
Like how it started, how the downfall started.
That's a.
Yeah,
I
good
live
thing he's
every,
been making some money for a while, so hopefully he
every
does
day.
some good with it, and maybe he finds himself back in the good graces of Epic at some point.
Every day I make my life decisions based off of, when I Google myself in 10 years, will this show up? If the answer is no, then it's probably an okay thing to do.
Well, you can tweet it out.
Yeah, like you can tweet it out. But if it's about clogging your pipes to eat some girl's shit, probably delete that one. Put that one back in the drafts and delete it later on.
No, my yikes is, I think, significantly worse in terms of what this individual did, versus what Clicks said as a joke. But this is around the spike, Tim, a website we frequent often. Something that we use for stats and news, and had to have some pretty popular writers on there. Have had a lot of popular writers on there at different times. Well, it turns out a lot of information has come out recently. The owner, Arthur Minikov, has not been paying his bills, has not paid several staff writers, several contractors, upwards of $40,000 out due to these individuals. It's not the first time this guy has been accused of doing this. It happened with one of his previous esports teams. A lot of complaints have come out from Dot Esports employees that contracted for him, talking about late payments or not getting paid until they made it public. They showed several excuses this guy makes of being bad with money. He said he has given over $400K of his own money in subscriptions and donations to smaller like variety streamers and whatnot in the community over the past year, but he's can't pay his bills at the end of the day, you know? And so you just question why anybody would trust this guy to begin with, since accusations have been out there. And I think in esports, once you get that, that's just a red flag, you know, that you're never probably going to be successful in this industry again.
It's kind of the kiss of death, I would say.
100%. Like, I mean, it doesn't get much worse than that in esports when you're not paying your employees, and in any job, right? So for this guy, trash, and he said he's going to pay them. We'll see. Hopefully they do get paid, but you can expect that site to basically be gone here relatively soon. They're about to lose anyone that's working for them. If you guys are looking for an alternative, I would highly recommend VLR.GG for a lot of that similar content. So, yeah, that sucks, like for all those employees, but again, it's just another piece of shit working in esports. Like we see it all too often.
Yeah, I actually use VLR way more than the Spike to begin with, for no particular reason other than I saw it first, and then so it's just
That is for me too. Honestly, I use VLR. The headlines are very easy to see which one you want to click on.
It's just the one I saved into my bookmarks. Yep. But you know, I was following this on Twitter, and it definitely is a yikes. But much like Click's situation, where it's like, I don't know, maybe this is just again me getting old. I kind of feel for both parties, because like if this guy is just bad with his money, right, and that's why he's in this mess, like that sucks. Like if he's almost like addicted, and I do think this is a thing. I do think you can be addicted to donations on Twitch. I think that can definitely be a problem for people. Of you see your name on their Twitch on the stream, and you get that positive affirmation. I 100% think that is a thing.
A terrible excuse, though. Whether it's a thing or not,
it's not a good excuse.
But like, I feel I don't feel there's not an inkling of me that feels bad for this guy in this situation. He's caused this, whether it's due to bad spending habits or whatever. I don't care. Like, to me, that's just.
I think for him, his issue
care of your own first
is he's also been kind of a dick on Twitter about it.
Yeah, he has. Like he's been rude to people. He like the way he replies.
Yeah, like he's like calling people up, like, don't worry, they'll get their money. Okay, you can't be a dick and then say, don't worry though, they'll get their money.
Like you're in the wrong. Any way you spin it,
how dare you question me that I'm not going to pay them? Well, you're already months behind payment. So sorry, I don't believe you right now. So hopefully everyone can get their money. Do I think they'll get their money? I highly doubt in these situations people get their money, because I think it's more often than not. I think more often people get paid, or at least you would hope. But it's also not shocking that we see from all these companies in esports where they start up and they kind of overpromise and overdeliver with promises of payment or tournament or whatever, and then their sponsorship doesn't come in as through, and they don't get that money on the back end after promising people the money on the front end, and that's where you get into this situation. I think that happens way too often in esports, and I think that's why some people think like, well, don't worry, let me just keep tweeting at them to pay. Listen, if they don't have the money, you're not getting paid. Like even if you take them to court, if they don't have the money, you're just not going to get it. And as fortunate as that is, I almost see like this being one of those situations. But
yeah, I mean, it's just he's not coming back from this, so you're right. Like there's a good chance that not full payment is made to everybody that's owed. I thought the best part of the story was these guys posted their story on the Spike's Twitter account. Like that was pretty badass of them. So I give those guys a lot of credit for doing that. You know, whether they get paid or not, I don't know, but props to them for putting this information out there, because people like this just need to be gone. Like they just need to be gone out of esports. Go do something else. Go scam other people. Like, but you got to get out of here. It happens too often.
I wish I made enough money to scam people in esports. The fact that he was able to blow $400,000 on donations and have money problems, like, bro, you obviously were good enough at some point in life to like make that money somewhere to donate. Like, I have donated or subbed to people on Twitch, but even like after like $5, I'm like, well, that was a waste of money. Could you imagine?
It's my, it's so sad. I don't know if I've ever made an actual like money donation. I've always just done like Twitch Prime.
Twitch
that
Prime.
I have.
I have.
Yeah.
I mean, I justify it to myself in the sense of like it's free entertainment. So it's like, okay,
Yeah, no, I don't hate on people for doing it at all. I think it's awesome when people do it. I just
especially
don't
to us.
watch one particular. I'll actually even move my Twitch or my Prime one around to small people.
Oh,
if
yeah,
it's
me
like
too.
somebody that I'll click into and just here you take it for
Twitch
this month.
Prime is for the homies.
Yeah.
That's for my people that are small enough that can appreciate it. I don't waste like a Twitch Prime on like huge guys like Dr. Disrespect or something when he was on Twitch. Like, no, dude, you make enough. You don't need my Twitch Prime. Let me give it to someone that's gonna appreciate it a little more. All right. So there is Yikes of the Week. Anuj, would you like to throw it to the interview, or do you want to discuss this Counter-Strike drama first?
Oh man. Let's go with the interview. We'll
Okay.
do the interview. We'll finish up with the Counter-Strike stuff because that'll be a long-winded discussion. So, let the people enjoy this beautiful interview here, and then we'll dive into it.
All right. So here is head coach of the Dallas Empire, Rambo.
All right, so as we discussed on last episode, the Call of Duty League is going back to LAN right here in Dallas, June 17th through the 20th. It's my birthday weekend, so probably just a coincidence, but maybe not. Maybe they said, hey, Tim, it's your birthday. Here you go. Happy birthday. And we figured, let's get someone on the show that could tell us just how important it is for the league, the teams, the players. So please welcome to the show head coach of your Dallas Empire, Rambo. How's it going today?
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm doing pretty well for myself. How about you guys?
Good. My voice. Excuse me for my voice. My 20-month-old son likes to sneeze in my face. So.
Oh, there you go. It's perfect.
It's just one of those days. But no. So obviously, LAN is coming back. Kind of a ass backward situation, right? Where typically you're not halfway through a game's lifespan and you're just now getting to play LAN.
COVID's changed things. Let's just put it that way.
How much LAN on Cold War have you guys played, if any?
None. No, I don't. I'd be really surprised if any team really has played any LAN so far. I mean, the important part of teams' preparations, right, is to prepare for what the playing field is going to be when you compete. So I don't expect any teams to start playing on LAN until the week of the actual event. Like we have what? We have 3. We're still going to be playing online for the pool stage. So then we have the major. It's going to be on LAN. So for that week previous to that, I'm sure you're going to see teams kind of try and group up together. It's going to be easier for the teams in Dallas, obviously, since there's like 6 or 7 teams already in Dallas in the league. So those teams will be easier to set up LANs, whatnot, with each other. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it changes the game.
It's kind of surprising a little bit just because of exactly what you just mentioned. There are a lot of teams, based out of Dallas right now. And has that just been has been more for like server issues in that sense of why teams are all based out of Dallas rather than maybe taking some of that time and getting some scrim experience in a head-to-head face-to-face setting?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a reaction of how online went last year. It's just being centralized just allows you to have a kind of not necessarily an edge at all times, but it just makes it easier for you to not be in a situation where you're playing at a disadvantage online. And that's kind of a big thing that helped us earlier last year. As like the year went on, a lot of teams started kind of moving to Dallas to make it easier on themselves. There was a big misconception that like, oh my God, Dallas is only good because they play online in Dallas, and you're that they're so good. So a lot of teams kind of saw that and try to take it upon themselves to put themselves in that situation. But yeah, I think the LAN aspect to me there was never a thought process, especially given the times that we were in last year and going into this year, that moving to Dallas was like a LAN preparation or allowing teams to be there easier. It's a great place to live. There's no state tax. So these players that are making a good amount of money now have an opportunity to make even more or keep some of it more.
And it's always funny too, because it just maybe not. Maybe you know more behind the scenes on why they picked Dallas for the first LAN event anyways. But you guys were also the winners of the last LAN event way back in March of last year. So
yeah,
it is
people
funny.
forget that quickly.
Yeah, and y'all took a ton of slack around that time too, as being an online team, and
Yeah.
people kind of forget what did happen on LAN. Outside of that first event, y'all performed really well throughout the season. For you guys, with LAN now approaching, What is the mental state like, of the group knowing, hey, we are going back on LAN? Is it excitement? Is there some nervousness because it's been so long? Like, what does it kind of feel like knowing it now?
It's definitely interesting. I don't think there's necessarily going to be nervousness. I think it's just more so like what to expect when like every game plays different online to LAN. Like some Call of Duty games have like played drastically different from online to LAN. I'd say last year was not necessarily the worst, but it was definitely a little different. And like who knows what this year's going to look like, right? We have no idea because no one's ever tried it yet. So the league has done the best they could to try and help us play on the playing field that is as even as possible and the closest to LAN. Like we have 60 hertz servers. We play on servers that are supposed to be or meant to be as equal as possible given the team's locations. So as far as fairness is concerned, it's most likely not going to be that different. But the game itself, like how bullet registration counts, like how are the weapons going to kill a little faster on LAN, is positioning going to be as impactful as it is online, which it should be even more impactful on LAN. So you might see some teams that are playing the game a little more aggressively online and get the LAN and like kind of have that kind of wake up call where some of the things they're getting away with online aren't necessarily working on LAN. We saw a little bit last year, like the opposite. Like the Minnesota Rocker last year was an extremely good LAN team, and when you got to online, they just couldn't keep up because of the pace of the game got so much quicker, and people started playing a lot more aggressive because you can get away with that in the online space. So you might see kind of the opposite flip this year, but I don't see it being that much because this game's already kind of very position based, and the teams that are doing well right now are already playing the game positionally very well. So it's going to be interesting, though. I mean, there's definitely going to be one or two teams in the league that are just going to come out and be like flip flop, where they're either just bad now and they're going to be better, or they're good now and they're going to be worse.
Now, it is a fanless event, so although that it is LAN, there won't be any fans there. Do you feel like that's going to be somewhat weird for the guys playing, where it's like, yeah, we're on a stage, and yes, it's LAN, but not really the same energy?
I think if anything is going to make it easier on the rookies, the players that haven't had that experience yet, because of the fact that most of the LAN kind of feel comes from the fans, right? Like our LA event last year had, I mean, it was more or less wasn't a full event, but it was like there was a good amount of people there watching, and you have the feel of the crowd, and like the crowd was interacting with the players, and the players interacting with the crowd back. So that's definitely something that you don't get comfortable with that kind of atmosphere right away. It takes you a few events, or even sometimes like a full year. So I've seen some players just not be able to perform at that stage for a full year. So the fact that there won't be any fans will definitely make it a lot easier on the players that are just kind of home players that are comfortable to just play in their own little environment. Like you're still gonna, again, like you said, you're still gonna be playing on the stage, but there's not gonna be that kind of that crowd pressure that really kind of pulls that whole LAN atmosphere into one place. So like the new players in the league that are kind of fearful of that, I feel like they're gonna have a much easier time adjusting to that.
You guys hopeful that at Champs we will have fans in attendance?
I mean, fingers crossed. Like that's honestly like my biggest regret. I mean, regret's a big word, but my biggest letdown from us winning champs last year is the fact that we didn't get to do it in front of a crowd, right? Like that's kind of half of it is just that feel of like just getting really hyped when you win and seeing all the atmosphere that kind of comes from it. So, yeah.
What you should do is you and Hastro should just stand behind the team, and then when you guys win, you just pop those confetti guns for the guys. Make it a little bit more.
We popped a couple of bottles of champagne last year after we won, so
There you go.
I guess that's kind of simple or close enough.
Now, looking ahead then, because, as you mentioned with champs and everything, you guys are defending champs, second place at the moment in the league. Don't know if you know this, Rambo, but you guys have made a considerable roster change recently.
Have we?
Just a little
So
one.
tell us exactly what happened.
My social media says that we haven't. I don't know what you're talking about.
So, obviously, you don't have to, nor would you, give us all the behind-the-scenes details of the inner workings of the Empire. But looking ahead, right, new roster, new last half stretch of the season, if you want to call it that, how are the mindsets going in?
Listen, I will say this about the whole situation: like, it wasn't just done out of spite. There's always every team in this league since the CDL has been incepted. Any roster change that is made has have some sense to it, right? Like, it's not always always easy to see the whole picture. And granted, like we haven't really given the fans that much kind of information as to why those changes happen. But but there's always more to it than the eye sees, especially in this business. It's really hard to be as transparent as possible. And we promised to our fans there will be some more information on that later on. But as of right now, yeah, we're looking forward to being able to compete with Fellow as much as we can and prove out that that our roster change decision, and down the road, down the stretch, comes champs time. Like, again, before I finish that sentence, our goal is to win champs. Like, that is, like, as a GM, as a coach, some of my players hate this because obviously they want to win every single event and every single match they play in. But as a coach and a GM, like the big championship is going to be the tournament that everyone remembers, right? Next year, like for example, if I ask you, obviously we talked about who won the LA event, but if I ask you who won the London event last year, it's going to take you a minute to kind of remember that if you were there watching it. But if I ask you down the stretch 6 years from now who won champs on Modern Warfare, you'll know it was the Dallas Empire. And that's really like what we're here for. We're here to kind of create something special and win the big championship every year. We want that ring again, and again, all the changes and all the things that we're talking about on a daily basis and trying to do is an effort to do so.
Yeah, they don't put the London banner up in Warzone for that team that won that event. You know,
there you go. It's good. That's
good
analogy.
just for the champs, you know, and so and we get that, and that's obviously been the motto for this year, right? Is defend the throne. Want to go back to back, you know, show people that making the decision. Obviously, the first tough decision was making the decision to cut down to 4, which you had to do, right? And Clayster,
that was awful.
You know, being the one that was gone, terrible, right? Like I can't imagine what that was like internally. And then, you know, the story behind it was, well, you know, we really want to keep Hook, Illy, Shotzi, you know, this core 3, and now you see one of them go, and I'm sure that's been just as tough. What I want to know is how has the team been dealing with a lot of the backlash that you guys have been getting online? Like, it's really only been negative. You know, I haven't seen a positive spin around the roster change yet. And not to say that Fellow's not deserving of the spot. I'm sure he's going to be amazing and the team can do amazing things with him, right? But the backlash online has been visible, and I'm sure you guys are seeing it. How are y'all handling that added aspect or emotion to the game?
Yeah, I mean, it's always hard, like, especially when you're doing something that the fans don't necessarily agree or don't really understand. And again, given our social posts and how we've been kind of not very transparent about the whole reasoning behind it, it's easy for them to be negative about it, and I completely understand. That's kind of like part of the business. On our end, I mean, we're just trying to not really pay attention to it, right? Like, it's not our jobs to sit there and deal with everyone's emotions. Our job is to compete and do the best we can on a daily basis. So we've had our heads down. I've used my mute button on Twitter a lot. I'll be honest. It's just kind of the way it is, to try and keep my sanity. But yeah, no, it's a matter of the change we made was an effort to become the team we want to become, and then we're doing all we can on a daily basis to do so. And the guys, again, are not they're trying to cut off everything around them and focus on playing and do what we can to prove out that this was the right decision in the end.
No shame in using the mute button, by the way.
Say that again?
No shame in using the mute button.
I'll never full on block someone. Like, I mean, I'm not going to block them. Like, if they're entitled to their opinion, but if it's going to stress my life out, I'm just going to mute it and not have to see it.
What does Fellow bring to this team? You know, maybe that's different than Hook, you know, similar. But what is he bringing to this team exactly?
Yeah, without going too much into it, he brings kind of a fresh mindset to it, right? Like, we've had Fellow help us last year. Just something a lot of people don't know. Fellow at right before champs last year, when they were done with their season after he won his challenger scene, he came in and was like almost like an S&D coach to us for the 2 weeks prior to champs. I mean, kind of helped us push our mindset and our understanding of what we needed to accomplish in Search to a level where we hadn't had it all year, which was very impressive on my end, because like I've obviously played against. I mean, I don't know if I compete against Fellow, but I've known a Fellow for a while now. He got second at the Call of Duty Championship, or COD Champs on Advanced Warfare, which is the game that I first helped build when I went into development. So the guy's been a stud for a while. And he's been showcasing his skills this year in Challenger scene. So we felt like the roster change. I'm not going to say too much. I feel like I'm going to go too far if I keep that going. But Fellow's been playing great all year, and we feel like he's definitely has a chance to make this team better.
How long do you guys feel like you give it? Because like from a fan's perspective, you say, oh, well, they added a new player, so they get a pass for this event. You know, when do you expect this team to be at 100% of what they're capable of?
I mean, our goal is to understand when that's going to happen or not, and our goal again is to win champs. So, like our mentality is full on. We want to win, And if anything it happens that we feel is keeping us from doing that, we're gonna do something we're gonna make a change about that. And like right now, again, like you said, it's still early. We're gonna give it as much time as we feel is needed for it to flourish and to come into what we expect it to become. And then move on from there. If something happens, something happens. Something doesn't, something doesn't. I mean, it's always, it's again really easy from an outside perspective to see things that way. But again, our goal again is to win champs. I'm going to say that a million times in the show, and you guys are gonna have to deal with it.
No, that should be the goal, right? That's the payout, isn't it? Like 1.2.
Yeah,
That would be my goal also.
good
Is
chunk of money.
to walk away the winners and champs. You know, this year's been a little different. I feel like than years past. You know, we've really had a lot of top heavy seasons in the past, right? Where like 1, 2, and 3, or maybe top 2 teams are kind of ahead of the pack by a large margin. This year, I feel like it's been a lot closer. You know, like the difference between first seed and 8th seed, even though Atlanta FaZe's record is 18-3, we've seen a couple of kinks in the armor recently. I feel like it's a lot closer. Do y'all get that same sense?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, the game we played last year was 5-on-5, required a ton of skill and very little solid decision making. I mean, I'm going to say little. Little is probably an overstatement, but in comparison to this year, this game is so situationally demanding, and the players have to think for themselves. It's much more demanding all around, is the way I'm going to put it. Last year, you could get away with having 1 or 2 players on your team that weren't necessarily making the best decisions, but if the skill was there and if your players were winning gunfights, that's really all you needed last year for the most part. And I felt like that's kind of probably why you saw such discrepancies, because the skilled teams are kind of so stacked against the other teams that weren't. And especially with the change to online, you kind of I feel like earlier in the year on land there's a bigger spread of kind of teams that you could see kind of possibly winning an event, but once it got online and the speed of the game just increased, like there was only like 2 or 3 teams, maybe 4 at each event that you really saw having a chance to kind of win it out. So this year is much more demanding on the decision front and playing the game at a high level all around. And so the basis, obviously, like this year's changed, right? 4-on-4, the game again. There's a lot more space on the map, so the game's become more decision based rather than skill based. You still need skill. You still need to be able to win gunfights. But in terms of like team positioning, is much more demanding for players to think for themselves and have an understanding of what they need to do in every situation. Last year, you kind of spawned here, and you kind of knew that your decisions off your spawns were much more limited. You kind of went in a certain way every time. This year, you kind of have to think your way through it, because the spawn system is a little more complex, and also just much more space on the map. And I think that's why you're seeing a lot of kind of the teams like not be able to get away with just skill anymore, right? Like earlier in the year, I think it was obviously easier since the meta of the game was kind of unknown and players just didn't understand the game that well. So typically when you have 4 guys just bashing heads with each other, the skill is going to come out on top. But as you've seen recently, a lot more teams have kind of come up and have a chance to win because they're understanding, they're playing the game more fundamentally correct, and the teams that are not are obviously coming out on the back end of that. So I think that's kind of honestly like the biggest change that we've seen so far.
And I haven't decided if I like it yet, but would you say the Group A and B system that they have this year plays into that a little bit as well?
I mean, kind of. Like it definitely makes the major a little more kind of compelling and interesting to, like it's yeah, I don't know if that's changed that much. I mean, if like let's say if we just compare them, right? Let's say we put the Group A and B system from last year, I feel like it would have been, the outcomes would have been very similar. It's just the fact that you would have seen more or less the same 2 or 3 teams in the finals every time, rather than having to switch between some teams having bye events, while this year there isn't. But yeah, I don't think that's changed that much.
I do like every team competing every week. Like that feels good.
I agree. I think the only thing, my only like to that point, my only downfall from this year is the fact that there's not really much time off in between these events. I'm not saying last year was great because it was only like one event every month. But the way it works this year is very much like your games are so spread out that it allows teams to prepare a lot more precise against other teams, and also just makes it hard for a team to get into rhythm. And like if you really think about it, right, like I could have, granted this is a bad way to put it, but I could go 0-5 in my pool and just peak at the major and win the major because I just go on a roll and my team gets really hot. While I couldn't have done that in the pool play. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's just the basis of like how it worked last year, where all your games are condensed. So it's like if you show up and you're flat, then you're just done. While this year, if you show up in your pool play match, is great, but if you show up in the major, you're flat, then you're done. So it's it's kind of weird in perspective how it's kind of panned out. I wish things were just much more condensed. Like I wish in my opinion, it should be like
That'd be
2
like
weeks of
3
full play
weeks.
matches,
Yeah.
and then a major week, and then you take 2 weeks off and then move forward.
Yeah, because now y'all will end here on the 16th, assuming you're in the finals, and then you're gonna have to pick up again in just like 10 days, basically. To
Yeah,
get
like
going
I
again.
mean, it's not just for the time off factor for the players to reset. It's just more so for like the meta and the game to develop a little more, and the practice also schedule just becomes a lot more difficult because you like whenever these teams compete in matches, like for example, like for the major this week, like we have a normal day of scrims today and tomorrow, and that's it. Like or tomorrow and the
there's
day
no
after, and that's
time
it.
after
Like
that.
during a major, like teams are getting warm up scrims, that's about it. Like there's no real time to prepare, and it's the same thing when on match weeks. Like teams are asking other teams to like chalk their practice so they can get warm up scrims, which obviously you want to do before a match. You don't want to just come in cold. So that prevents everyone from practicing. So then you really only have like 3 or 4 days a week to practice during the match weeks.
And that's
Just
while
being-
everyone's online, right? Like that's not even thinking
yeah.
about for next stage when it's a LAN event. You have travel involved and all
I mean,
that.
that'll
mess.
only be 1 week to be fair, but yeah, if every match was on land, then it wouldn't be that. It would be the same as it was on land because everyone would be living in the same place, like they did in Columbus for that MLG seasons or whatever they had.
Which game is playing better online compared to last year versus this year? Now that we've had two seasons to kind of compare it to.
I'd say last year, end of year, was very comparable to this year. I don't think there's much difference, honestly. I think it's just what's better about this year is the fact that most teams are in Dallas. So like there's only like 1 or 2 or 3 matchups this year that are kind of wonky because the team's living so far. Like Toronto's pretty far, and LAG's pretty far, and then Florida's a little spread out. But beyond that, it's like it feels a lot more fair in competition because of the fact that teams aren't living in random places anymore.
You know, it's kind of interesting because like this past week we had the issue with I guess the admin picking the wrong server
Oh my
location
God.
in the Optic match, which is a tough mistake to kind of handle, right? But what I want to know is how much of a difference is 20 ping in from your perspective, right? They might feel different about it in one way, but how would you feel about that situation if it happened to your guys?
So you have to look at it this way. It's never a difference in number, it's a percentage difference. So if Atlanta's pinging 5 and then Optic's pinging 30, for example, like you got to think about the percentage of the 5 to 30 is. Like if we're talking 20 when a team's pinging 5, that's a lot. But if we're talking 20 when 2 teams are pinging like 50 and 70, it's really not that bad. And I don't know exactly what the ping numbers are there. Granted, it couldn't have been that good based on how the match looked. Not saying the outcome would have been any different because FaZe is playing pretty well right now, and OG seems like they're kind of slumping a little bit. But just a simple matter of fact is just like it wasn't a fair matchup, which is a very huge problem, which I felt like wasn't handled properly. But that's my take on it. Everyone has their own opinion, I guess.
Well, Rambo, we definitely appreciate you coming on the show. Definitely excited for LAN to come back next month. Like I said, it is no fans. They're telling us no media, but it is
that's
my
tough.
birthday, so
Maybe they should make an exception for you.
Yeah, like you might see
Just for
us
you.
there. Right? You never know.
Anuj is out, but Tim's in.
Yeah, I'm in for sure.
It's my son's birthday on the 18th.
That's not your birthday. I'm sorry, that doesn't
Well,
apply
maybe
here.
he can go instead of me.
Actually, a funny thing we didn't really touch on is the fact that since our roster changed and the fact that we haven't like picked up another player, we had to find a new substitute. I am now officially full Jackie Moon, semi-pro style coach, GM, and substitute player. Oldest player in the league. Rambo-HC is back.
That's pretty badass. How does that feel?
Feels good.
I bet it does. I
just really hope a player doesn't break a thumb.
So
I have to
now
come
what
in
you
and
need to
make a fool
do-
of myself.
Now you just have to have the power move and really set your dominance and bench one of them. Like bench. This is what you guys do. If you're having like a kick-ass time in the major, bench Crims just to send a message.
Oh my god. This is how much better we are. That's
Yeah,
one of
like
our
just-
starters for old man Rambo-HC to come in
just
and
bench
show his
him.
dominance.
Like they drop one map, bench Crims, and put yourself in. Just
Do
If we
you,
have more
think
map-
do you think you could still fry a little bit if you had like just like you were on an on game? You know, could it happen?
I mean, dude, like this is one thing people need to understand is that you never truly lose it. Granted, like I'm super rusty, obviously. I mean, everyone thinks that as a coach and like or GM or anyone that's involved in the organization gets to play a lot anymore. Like
But that
it's not my
muscle
job to
memory
play,
is
right?
still
So I mean, I still play league play here and there. Like if someone really told me like, hey, look, there's a potential that you might play in a month, like I would just grind a game every day for that point to at least have a somewhat of a chance to substantially show some level of life in game. But yeah, the brain's still there. The hands are definitely not. So that'd be the biggest thing I have to get back.
Well, dude, go kick ass. We're rooting for y'all. We're homers. We're here in Dallas also. And
3, 2, 1, go!
All right, thank you again to Rambo and the Dallas Empire for taking the time to come on the show. We've never had him. I've talked to him before, but never like one-on-one, just in like a press conference or anything like that. Good dude. Good dude.
Really good dude. Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to have had a little bit more time. If once the information comes out about Hook, I would love to then have that discussion again with him because they're all, including the players, obviously, are itching to comment on it a little bit, right? And for Dallas, I think there needs to be a little bit of a defensive strategy here because it just hasn't looked good for them. And so I want to know more about the reasoning. I'm eager to know more about it, just like everybody else. And that was a fun interview, though. The guy's really, excited with what he's done with that team, right? And hopefully they can take what they have now and make a good run second half of the season here, or down, I guess, the stretch part of the season now.
Yeah, we're on the back end now of it, so
yeah,
hopefully they can turn things around. So there you go. Thanks again to Rambo for coming on the show. Also, there is no joke. Like, that weekend is going to be crazy for us. Like, between birthdays and Call of Duty and
there's no chance that I would get to go to that event. Like, there's really no chance. There's just too much going on here between 3 birthdays and an anniversary and Father's Day within a 8-day window.
See, that's your only chance to do it, is like go on Sunday for like the final 4, and then we can use the Father Day excuse of like, hey, it's Father's Day, I'm just gonna go watch some esports.
Yeah,
like that's kind of all I want to do.
Sounds so good. Sounds so. This is what I want for Father's Day, to be away from y'all.
It's your day. You can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. All right, so let's move gears here and talk some Counter-Strike with some unexpected drama. Anuj, do us the honors and catch everyone up on what the hell's going on.
So for those of you that don't know, Flashpoint Season 3, as we would like to call it, is going on right now. It is the RMR event, so you have all the best teams playing for a spot in the major. These events give points, super important for teams that are trying to build a resume to get themselves in. So obviously one of the highlight matches of the event was everyone's eyes being on NIP for their first matchup. The recent acquisition of Device kind of shook the CS world, and I think still rattling a lot of people that this change even happened. And so I think everybody was watching this game. Honestly, if you're a fan of Counter-Strike, you probably tuned into what was going on just to see Device into New Jersey. Well, this game, I'm going to say the ending of the game first, and then we'll backtrack here. Anonymous ended up upsetting NIP. NIP won the first map, and then they lost the last 2, so Anonymous advanced with a 2-1 victory. And shortly after, a series of events takes place that I'm going to kind of walk us through a little bit here because there is a lot to it. Kind of started off with a Device. You know what? We'll go even prior. Map 1 starts, and the players were experiencing high packet loss. They called a technical pause during that first game and allowed like the league operations and all that to kind of investigate the issue to try to figure out what was going on. No solution was ultimately found. And at this point, this part is really important. Anonymo player offered the chance for NIP to go ahead and let's reschedule and push this back to a later date, whether it's a day or 2 later, to possibly replay this game and we can just start fresh and do the best out of 3. It sounds like NIP declined that offer to try and resolve the issue and come up with another solution so they could play that day. They are saying Flashpoint at that point was also really pressuring NIP to figure out a solution along with them to play the game that day. They did not want to delay it because it does throw off, things that are happening in the other rounds. NIP made an offer at that point of using a third-party server. That seemed to be the only thing that was working because the issue was on Flashpoint's server side. NIP asked if they could use a third-party server because it wasn't causing any issues when they logged in. That was denied. So what takes place here is that Nip ends up playing the game with roughly, according to Device's tweet right after the match, they played the game with roughly 30 to 40% packet loss. For those of you that don't know what packet loss is, I'm not going to get technical here. Picture somebody running towards you and they are then showing up where they are like 2 seconds later. But that gap of 2 seconds disappears, right? So they are skipping forward to where they currently are, and it can be really choppy.
It almost looks like if you've ever watched a stream and someone's frames were dropping, it's the same thing. Like it's almost like they just skipped ahead.
Yeah, I mean it's terrible. It's very difficult to play, especially at a high level, right? Like let alone a pug with your homies. Like doing this at a high level is damn near impossible. The problem was finally found. It was Flashpoint security settings were partially blocking traffic from NIP to the Flashpoint game server. So it was something that was out of NIP's control, which is important to note here. The issue was out of NIP's control. Anyways, fast forward a little bit. The game is over. NIP is obviously complaining. Flashpoint reviews the data that was causing the issue, realizes that it's on, realizes that it's on their end. And Flashpoint makes a decision now to replay the game, essentially. Anonymo, just so you know, is very much against this idea. NIP obviously is not really chiming in too much here. I think they're just kind of posting the data of what's taking place versus their opinion on the situation. But Flashpoint has released, I think, 2 statements. They released a presser that initially said that they were going to replay, I think, one of the maps, and then came back and said, no, we're actually just going to replay the full BO3 in this case. And so here we are in the middle of, the major qualification stage, and we're replaying a game that had a conclusion. And so, Tim, I don't know if I really missed anything major there. Is there anything you want to add to that?
When it was brought up that the match was getting replayed, which was just a couple hours before this recording, right? Like that's still pretty fresh news. Flashpoint made the decision, but it was brought to their attention by NIP, correct? Like NIP was the one who said, "Why don't we just replay this?"
I think NIP offered either replaying one map or replaying the full BO3.
Okay. And you might have said this. Flashpoint did go to Valve, and then Valve was like, "Nah, bro, this is you guys. You figure it out."
Yeah, like Valve wasn't gonna help regardless because they don't care about this type of stuff. Like this is why they have third-party organizers do everything for them, is they don't want to touch any of this. So Valve didn't, make a formal request one way or the other. They were informed of what was going on. This is like a really bad situation for Flashpoint because chances are you've now disqualified yourself from really any real chance of having future involvement, right? Like at least right now, you've put yourself in a really bad spot, and it sucks because I thought they were off to a very good start in terms of, the people that they have on the desk are doing a fairly good job. Obviously, Lex is a whole nother issue, right, Tim? Like seeing him on the desk is another thing. No, I'm just kidding. But
are you though? Are you kidding?
No, not really, not so much.
Did you see he did make oops?
They were off to a good start.
Did you see he's made a couple oops now and mentioned Valorant?
It's not surprising.
Oh, chat loves it. CS chat just
they have fun with him for sure. Chat doesn't hold back. So I kind of want to get into just our thoughts because we don't have much more to really add based on where we're at, and we have seen a lot of reaction online, and there is a lot of interaction going on with these posts online. I just want to get an understanding of how you think this should have played out, knowing the information. I feel like we have a pretty good idea of everything that's taken place here, right? Like everyone's at least being really transparent of what's been going on, whether right or wrong. I feel like we're at least getting the right information. So Tim, based on what we know, what's your take on the situation?
Yeah, so based off what we know, and I think, because like you said, this was originally going to just be like your yikes of the week, and then it's just blown up. like in the last 24, 48 hours. It's completely gone off the rails. So like and same thing with my opinion on it. Originally it was, wow, this is yikes, and in reality it should have been handled at the moment during the match, but and I don't know, like I know Fallen has tweeted out saying like, look, a connection problem is your problem, and the TO shouldn't have to worry about it. I get that, but at the same time, it sounds like there was a solution to it, and the TO was the one who said, no, not going to do it. So at that point, I kind of feel like it was on Flashpoint in the beginning. And now that we've kind of gone this, honestly, I'm kind of bitter with both Flashpoint and Nip for even putting pressure on, how do you say the name?
Anonyma?
Anonyma?
Anonymo?
Anonymo?
Yeah, I think
Like
that's what it is.
Phenomena?
Yeah.
The
It's
Muppets?
like anonymous.
Shout out.
We're almost there.
Yeah, Anonyma. I'm kind of bitter with Flashpoint and Nip for even putting pressure on them to even replay the match. Because to me, that's ridiculous. As soon as the match was concluded, sorry, this has been, now they are going to be replaying the match like almost like a week after they finished it. That's ridiculous. This is a major qualifying event. It has major ramifications to it. I understand in a perfect world you would want the perfect conditions, but the match was concluded. It's like, if they've only played one map and then Nip was like, we're not going to do this, let's wait a couple days to finish it out, sure, that's fine. This to me is like the worst possible solution on trying to fix the issue. This to me is an embarrassment on both Flash. First off, shame on Nip for even entertaining the idea, but I get it. They want to do it, obviously, because they feel like they have a chance at winning. They're the better team. So I get that from a competitive standpoint, but we're all about this competitive integrity bullshit that everyone always brings up, especially everyone in the Counter-Strike world. Think of the competitive integrity. Well, where's the integrity now to be asking this team who's mentally won and moved on from this to replay the match? Like, that's ridiculous. And they should honestly be embarrassed to even entertain the idea. I also think, though, from a Valve and Flashpoint standpoint, this is them trying to just completely wash their hands of it and being like, look, guys, we replayed the match. It's all harm, no harm, no foul on our end. We weren't the ones who screwed up. No issue on us. So I don't like it. I don't think they should replay it. I think you play where the ball lies, and in this sense, Nip got the short end of it. But tough. It is somewhat on your bad too, because you were the one with the bad connection. Like if you go and play let's say the Super Bowl, and it's outdoors and it's raining, right? And one team has an exceptional passing game and the other team has an exceptional running game. Well, the passing team isn't going to be like, guys, can we replay this when it's not raining out so it suits both of us? Like, you just kind of have to go with it. And the fact that it's been concluded, I think it's done. It's on the books. We move on, and Nip, licks their wounds and head on to the next one.
Yeah, so here's my take on this. It's pretty close to yours. It's probably right on point, actually. This should have been postponed at the very start when this was the case. If they couldn't figure out a solution, and if they weren't willing to use a third-party server, Flashpoint should have stepped in at that point and been like, hey, this is not going to be playable for you guys. We just need to move this a day until we figure out this issue. I don't put the blame on Nip for the issue at hand, because it's been determined it was a flaw on Flashpoint server side. Like, there was nothing Nip could do to fix the issue. Like, that had been determined. That's what at least it sounds like. That's been determined, that there's nothing they could have done to fix the issue. However, you have just set one of the worst precedents in all of sports. You cannot go back and replay a match. You just can't do it, because there's too much politics involved already. If this was
already
against,
you have Nip and Device being the ones on the better end of this deal.
like, that does not help that situation at all, and it doesn't help that it was also against a quote unquote tier 2 type opponent. Had this happened against a Team Liquid, would we be replaying this match? If this happened against FaZe Clan, is this match going to be replayed? Oh, I'm sorry, FaZe wouldn't have won anyway. Like if this had been against any big organization, would we be replaying the maps? And I think the answer to that is no. And so, as much as I love NIP and I want to see them do well and I want to see them make the major, and they still have a great chance to do that, right? Like, this is not going to completely obliterate their chances of doing anything. This is just not the way to go about it. You can't go back and replay it. Like, it just looks so bad, and the chances of NIP winning are probably 75% or higher if they replay this game, right? Like, you would think Anonymous had to throw out all the stops and play a fairly flawless Counter-Strike to beat a team that is better than you from a talent perspective, right? That means you're clicking on all cylinders that day. There's no guarantee that happens again. You're probably replaying the same map, so now any tricks or tips that you gave out that would give a tell-off have been given away. The positions that you're most likely playing with, the your choice of weapons in certain situations, like all of that information is now available to NIP, and they're the team that would be able to capitalize on it because they just have to be playing pretty good that day to win. They don't have to play perfect, just because, again, they are the better team. So I think this is a terrible ruling. I just can't believe that this is what we've come to. It feels like a sham. It feels like I'm being cheated out of something in a time with Counter-Strike is already getting shitted on by the esports community for match fixing in MDL, the coach just cheating and stream sniping accusations that have been going on for the past year during COVID. The major was supposed to be that one thing that, okay, we can reunite and get behind the major, and it's a major, and it's been the first one in over a year and a half or 2 years now almost. It was something to unite behind, and now even that is being tainted. So I hate the look. I think Flashpoint is
for an org that's already been kind of the butt end of everyone's jokes, and then this happens. I really don't see how Valve gives them another opportunity after this one. I honestly don't. You've already had a pro league. It was a league that's fallen apart. People spent millions of dollars to be in your league, and you still couldn't convince them to care enough to be in it and to play for it. And now this happens where you just completely try to wash your hands and make the teams look like the bad guy. Like, we're a $1 billion industry. Counter-Strike is on the top 2 games of that $1 billion industry. Why are we acting like we're some pug at a LAN center where the admins, like, imagine if in a professional sport, if there was a bad call and the players wanted to go replay that game. How many bad calls have we seen in hockey?
Hundreds. In every
baseball.
Sport.
Every single game of baseball would have to be replayed in the history of time if we had to replay an ump's bad call. Like, and then for the admins and the league commissioner, which I think is Monte Cristo still, absolutely. Like, if Monty's, I know, is in position of power, he's been around esports long enough to know that this is bullshit. Like, the fact that he's just looking at the fact that Flashpoint looks at the players and the teams go, what do you guys want to do? Like, what do you mean, what do they want to do? You are the authority here, not them. And
you're supposed to make the sound decision, right? Not the decision based on, we need to see NIP be in the upper. Like, this is a first round game. NIP's not even eliminated from this loss. Maybe if this was an elimination match and it's, the last match of the event, it was the finals and it's tainted because they were lagging, maybe there's some more discussion you could have around it then in that situation. But this is not even elimination. Like, they're getting dropped down to lowers. They have a chance to continue going without issues. And if you're good enough, you're going to make it through anyway. So this was a huge blow to Anonymous. Like, I feel terrible for that ownership group. I feel really terrible for those players. Like, it's just a terrible, terrible decision made by a group that is already proven to be incompetent when it comes to running a professional league in esports, right? Like, Flashpoint has really been a joke, and like, as you mentioned, they haven't been able to keep the teams invested enough. Granted, those teams have had all sorts of issues themselves, but it's just been a joke, since the beginning. And here we are 3 seasons into Flashpoint, they still can't seem to get something going right in their favor when they were handed this gift of the RMR to save their again, quote unquote, season 3, which this is not a season 3. Okay, like stop putting that on their titles that this is what this is. Like it's not that. It's they got an event through Valve, so very different. Again, terrible. Like there's nothing positive I have to say for what Flashpoint did here. I feel terrible for Anonymous. I hope they come out and pull up a victory again. Like I really do. I want to see this go the way it's supposed to happen. But my gut tells me Nip is playing with house money here, and that's a lot easier to do.
Listen, Anuj, as people, you and I, who have made it to the Final Four of a DreamHack BYOC tournament, and then have been told that we were in the wrong tournament and had to replay the matches, I know exactly where they're coming from.
You know exactly how they feel.
And it does suck because there is no way that they are mentally going to be in it this second time through. Those players, the only reason they're agreeing to this is because they know from a public backlash the hell that they would have to go through from NIP fans and some CS fans, but I think a majority of them would be on their side to just
I don't think they had a choice, though. They were told you're replaying this, not do you want to replay. They were given the choice of best of 1 or best of 3, and then Flashpoint came in and said we're doing best of 3. Like we're just replaying the whole thing.
I don't
think there's any player on Anonymous that's sitting there right now being like, yeah, let's go ahead and replay this so we don't take backlash on social media. Like who gives a shit about that? At the end of the day, you're the one advancing. It's all positive for you. You're going up against FPX in the next round, which again, not an easy game at all, but a winnable matchup. And so, you could potentially fall down and then you would be playing the loser of Double Pony, who we should probably talk about them for a brief minute, and Astralis. You'd be playing the loser of that game. So your next match in the lower bracket could be harder than it would be in your upper bracket potentially. So this is a bad judgment call on everybody's part. Like I feel like we're dealing with idiots here, and the sensible decision unfortunately wasn't made.
So, and I did mention Monte Cristo. So I'll just follow up on that because I just saw on Twitter. So yes, he is the commissioner of Flashpoint, but in esports, I guess that doesn't mean the same thing as in normal sports, because he tweeted out earlier today, regarding the issue faced by NIP and Flashpoint, I rescued myself from league operations as a conflict of interest prior to the start of RMR. I'm an employee of the partner teams, and therefore I should not make decisions on rules that could affect the major cycle. And then it went on so many tweets, but he said, in short, I have not been part of the conversations and decisions that have been made. That said, I do obviously have opinions and some reactions surrounding the opinion that the match should have been postponed. And then he went on and said other things, but
because he's not going to come out and shit on them for the decision, right? So he's talking about, yeah, they shouldn't have postponed it. They should have played the match as is. He's not talking about he's not going to come back and say, yeah, this was a bad decision. I'm hoping he believes that this was a bad decision because you're right. He's been around for too long to not know, or to know that this is just not the way you do it. Like you don't do that. It's just such a.
Well, he says here, he goes on and says the online era has been plagued by cheating and blah, 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 and and other breaches of competitive integrity. He said it. He said the magic words, Anuj, competitive integrity. Shoot me in the face when people say competitive integrity. He goes, therefore, all requests have to be rescheduling must be 100% verified. He said, point is, don't pretend that this somehow on a tournament operator's job to take teams' word at face value. These things require due diligence, and postponing matches on a whim gets a horrible precedent that can and likely would be abused for the future. So,
which is accurate in the sense that he is not saying that he's not saying that NIP was lying about the issues. What he's saying there is that at that time, we couldn't take NIP 100% at their word that they're actually getting 30 to 40%. Maybe it was 5 to 10%, and it was enough to
one peaked at 40, and then they
and then they said that. So they've acknowledged the issue now of what it was, but he's saying at the time we couldn't be like, let's postpone this match. What he's not addressing, however, is the ruling that has been set now today from Flashpoint, right? He is avoiding that part of the conversation. I get what he's saying and it makes sense, but now what are your thoughts on the decision that your employer made to go back and replay this match? That's the important part here.
Yeah, because he's talking about like it would set a bad precedent for having a match postponed. Well, I'd rather have a match postponed than completely redone. Now you're rewriting history. Before you were just delaying it.
Again, he's saying we're setting a bad precedent for postponing a match, but not setting a bad precedent for replaying a match.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's completely avoiding half of this conversation, which I understand. They're paying his check. They're probably paying him a nice one, would be my guess, right? So he's not going to come out and bash him, but it is good to know that he was not involved in that ruling because, you know, that would have made him look like a joke. He would have been on his next podcast with Richard Lewis and Thorne, and they would have all had to figure out a way to spin this to not have to shit on him.
Oh, there's no way they're talking about this on their show. No way.
They will. He will probably not be there.
They'll just twist the narrative to make it seem like it's anyone's fault or no one's to blame with their association with it.
If I were him, I would just, I'm not feeling well that day that we're recording.
Internet's down
for this one.
Update on Thorne. I've also been blocked by him on my personal Twitter. I actually just discovered this right now as I was trying to find information. I literally never have tweeted at Thorne in my life. So it's just another confirmation. Thorne, I know you listen to the show.
I actually appreciate that.
You can always come on the show, though. Like, yeah.
I don't hate you.
No.
I don't agree with everything that you say, and I think that's okay, right?
Right. I think it's... The thing is Thorne, because I know you listen to the show because you block me, and yet I never tweet you. I don't even think I followed him, to be honest with you, on Twitter. The irony that people like that get so upset and try to make it seem like everyone else is wrong, but yet he blocks anyone that disagrees with him. It's like, so you're not really there for the conversation. You're not really there. I mean, he can always come on the show and just, like you said, I think he's amazing at what he does. It's just how he does it.
Like, he makes it easy to like poke fun at him. If he doesn't realize that, then that's his own problem, right? Like, it's not like it's difficult to make fun of some of the outlandish stuff that he says, because I'm sure he knows it's outlandish in some areas, right?
I'm sure that's why he says it.
Like, I don't get it. And that's okay. Look, as long as you are listening and hopefully enjoying, we appreciate that. Patreon is available if you would like to show your support in another form or fashion, but a block is good enough. I appreciate that. Thank you, Thorin. That, you know, it is what it is. I'm not losing any sleep over it.
No, not at all. So anyways, you know, I'm curious on what other people think of this. I honestly haven't seen, just from looking on Twitter and Reddit, anyone really being on Flashpoint's or Nip's side on this one.
Not one. I haven't found one.
I feel like, unless you're associated with someone in the league, I feel like the unanimous is saying you let it go. Like, you this match should not be replayed. So anyways, it's just another example of why Flashpoint should probably never be given an event ever again. An official RMR event. That's the more joke of it. And it's also a joke. Again, I feel like Valve loves to sit in the dark on these and just watch the world burn in front of them. But they should, for this being something that goes to their event, and they are so stingy on giving people official RMR status, they should probably also say something about this. But knowing Valve, they'll wait like 6 months down the road before saying anything about this, and then like try to affect something else. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm going through and reading all the players' Twitters right now, and it's interesting, guys. Like, we'll probably have an update on this. Honestly, either next episode or maybe, you know, Sunday, we'll probably have some follow-up here, because this game is going to be replayed, and we are going to be discussing Flashpoint because it is an important event. So all of this will get rehashed a little bit coming up. So if you're looking for a conclusion and don't want to follow it all on your own, just stay tuned.
I tried Google or looking on Twitter for NIP NIP. Do not just try to search NIP. Twitter does not know I mean the esports team. Yeah, no, a lot of player reactions. Like I said, the one that I saw was the kind of the more dagger one, was Fallen, pretty much saying, like, you know, we've had internet connections too, and we've always done what we can to fix it, but it definitely should just not be replayed. So, oh well, kind of a damn shame when so much hype was built up around the match, and Device's first game with Nip, and it was supposed to be this historical match for other reasons than this, but
they become the villains to a lot of people now.
I'm rooting against them at this point. I'm sorry, I know they're your team, but
in this particular match, I would be rooting for Anonymous to pull through, so we have a continuation of it. However, I would be rooting for Nip outside of that. Fair
enough. Oh yeah, give me this one match where they can lose.
Again, this is not their fault, okay? In the sense of the decision was made by Flashpoint to replay this match. Whether Nip pressured them to do it, that's fine. If I'm a president of Nip or an owner of Nip, you're sure as hell I'm pressuring you to replay that. This is my team we're talking about.
That's what I'm saying.
You got to have your own guys' back. This is a Flashpoint decision. Therefore, the fault lies on them, regardless of what happens here and moving forward. This is a Flashpoint issue, and they made the bad judgment call. They were the authoritative figure here, and look, it's just a bad decision. And they're gonna have to live with that, and hopefully the outcomes aren't too altered here, and Anonymous has a chance to get some points, man. That's what it's all about. These guys want to compete at the highest level too. So as much as I love Nip, I want to see a fair game.
And before we get into e-news, give us your spark notes on why Double Pony is the best French team right now.
First of all, these mofos 2-0'd Vitality easily. Okay, easily. Yeah. They dominated them on Nuke, and I think the second map was Inferno, but they shredded them on both maps, 16-5 type games. It wasn't even close. Body looks like a new player. He is the IGL for this team. Looks awesome. NBK had a fabulous rating. He was playing really well. They looked really good. Now, this doesn't mean that Double Pony is going to come out and beat Astralis. What this tells you is Double Pony is not a team that you're just going to walk over, even if NBK is a new acquisition. This is the French scene. All these guys have probably played together before at some point on some team and have some connection or some history together. So he seemed to fit in flawlessly. It's a team of several veterans. I mean, it's not Lucky, Body, NBK. These guys have been around for a while, and they've played at the highest level of competition. And all I'm saying is they looked good. Vitality, on the other hand, looks like they have issues along with them and FaZe. I just want to throw out that FaZe got knocked down today. Not down. FaZe got knocked out today from the lower bracket by Sprout. So don't know what they're doing. Don't know what their plan is, but Vitality and FaZe both have some issues that they need to correct. Vitality was able to overcome their lower round matchup in advance, beating OG, but didn't look good in that first game against your French competition. So I am excited now for Double Pony and Astralis, which is this Wednesday. This is an ongoing event. I think the finals are on the 5th, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll follow you guys again, kind of just give brief updates on big outcomes as we go along.
The 30th. The finals is on the 30th, but still, that's
so 15 days away, roughly.
2 weeks. You got caught by the European date system. That makes no sense.
I did.
I know what you did because you looked in the middle and saw the 5th, but no, that's the month.
Yeah.
It's Europeans.
You got me there.
So either way, though, you're right. It's 2 weeks away, so we won't get caught up too much into the details, but we will definitely keep an eye on Nip versus Anonymous just to see what happens there. All right, let's get into some e-news, but first, e-news is brought to you by Philly Esports, friend of the show. We've had them on before, actually, and they're also active in our Discord, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask in there, but they are at the moment online esports event. They host monthly tournaments that are completely free for signing up this month, coming up next weekend. I think the 22nd. Yep, next weekend. Saturday, May 22nd, a one-on-one double elimination Super Smash Brothers Ultimate Tournament. This is online, so you do not have to be in Philly to sign up. Go to phillyesports.net, sign up. Next month, they actually already even have June 12th. a 2 versus 2 Rocket League event. So with a $500 prize pool. So that's a big one. Completely free to sign up. I'll tell you what, if you do want to play in these, you can represent TCR. You can throw TCR in your name. We'll even cover the entry fee. So check them out. PhillyEsports.net. E-news. Where is it? Okay. Some e-news to get to. We'll run through them because obviously having a show off, we got quite a bit to get to. Agent will be added to the map pool for IEM Summer. In Overwatch, we have the hero rotations coming up for the next stage. Tracer, Sombra, Reinhardt, and Zenyatta are all out of the rotation. Reinhardt is for sure going to mess with some teams being out. Next week, or actually now in just a handful of days, on May 20th, it was announced that the Blizzard will stream a 2-hour Overwatch 2 PvP preview. A lot of people excited for this. Spoiler alert, we've played Overwatch 2. If you really wanted to have a 2-hour preview on what the PvP is going to feel like, go play Overwatch 1. Because it's the same thing, just different graphics.
Like not that different.
Like, I honestly don't, like, literally people who play Overwatch 1 will be able to play Overwatch 2 PvP. So that's not going to change. So don't know what's going on there, but we'll see. Maybe there's some big announcements.
Might look nicer.
Yeah, it will look good. Dallas Fuel sign DPS Pine, formerly of New York. I think he sat out most of last season, or if not all. But a huge signing from them. I know he's kind of got the short end of the deal a lot, but that's mainly just been the meta hasn't been in his favor. But with how the game works now, he can kind of become a little bit more useful. Huge signing for Fuel, who've already just won the Melee, kind of light on the DPS end. So to sign Pine, who's a top tier DPS in the league, after already winning the last stage, pretty huge. Pretty huge for the Dallas Fuel. In Valorant news, Navera rumored to be joining Liquid.
Yeah, that's like a little crazy to me because I thought he had a future in Counter-Strike, being such a young player that showed promise on Vitality. Badass to go to Liquid Valorant, though. He's going to go join his brother Scream over there, and that's, I'm sure, a big reason for this, but again, just another blow, this time on the EU side, so that's kind of rare for that to happen, but a cool signing. Like, that's going to be an amazing storyline for Valorant, and look, I mean, I wish him all the best either way. Like, he's a great talent, so hopefully if he makes a decision to go over to Valorant, it works out. Liquid's playing great. They're playing in Iceland coming up here, so if he can get a chance to play with him and do all that would be awesome.
TSM signs former NRG head coach and Counter-Strike head coach Chet. I know I'm a big fan of him, so I like that signing. I think for a team like TMS, who was trending in the wrong direction, or what did I say? TMS, Texas Motor Speedway. Yeah. Same letters, different order. TSM, I think it's a huge signing. I think it's a huge signing for them.
Yeah, I went out and bought this chair specifically for Chet after the announcement was made. So Chet, big fan. If you want to come on the show, that'd be awesome. Hey, this is an amazing signing for TSM. I'm sad that he didn't get an offer that was lucrative enough to go back to Counter-Strike. I thought that was a real possibility to get him back in Counter-Strike, and I know a lot of people were hoping and pushing for that, but he sees a future in Valorant for himself, and we wish him all the best. And for TSM, again, that's an awesome signing because their heads are jacked up over there. Like, whatever's going on internally with that org is a nightmare right now because they have lost their way, and so hopefully bringing in a stable-minded head coach and somebody that can just knows his shit can help right that ship. So we'll see.
This also allows him to stay in NA and a top tier, though. Like, I don't think anything in Counter-Strike was going to allow him to be top tier.
There's not a lot of NA opportunities, right? You got one or two teams that you're looking at. If there's not a job available, you're done.
Right.
Unless you're willing to move to EU, which probably not going to happen for him. Like, it's just, it is what it is. So TSM presented an opportunity, and it's an awesome one. Like, this is a huge, great org to be working with.
G2 looks like is also rumored to be trading Zeke for Caldamenta from Ascend Club.
For Ascend. These guys are gonna get ripped apart like one by one now. It's sad. It's going to happen. They played so well, and
Interesting
you
to
know,
see a trade though. You normally don't see trades in esports.
very
Ever.
rare.
I don't think I've ever
Yeah.
seen a trade.
I can't remember the last one we have seen.
Viper has been nerfed. I don't know if this is live yet in the game or not, to be honest with you, but Viper is set or is nerfed. Her decay from Toxic, the most obnoxious thing that they've ever done to her, was 50. It is now at 30.
That's better.
Manageable. Still effective, but not like completely obliterates your face when you walk through it.
Takes your armor completely out.
Yep.
You're just
Thoughts and prayers for Ninja as he is set to do a little career change as he is no longer with Team Time In.
like his brand for his shoe, isn't it? Isn't that like his own brand?
I think that's kind of what it all started as, right? Was for him to promote. I just hope he can bounce
It's
back.
probably paying that salary with one creator code, 1 month of creator code. He's like, I got you guys for the next 3 years.
And Heroic is rumored to be getting into the Valorant scene as they are set to sign the roster of Honk.
Yeah, I mean,
There's
look,
that.
that's an org that has just run into some money here with some, according to them, they've had some good deals come up for them, and they're going to be growing. So this is great. They're doing well in Counter-Strike. It'd be good to see them enter Valorant and keep expanding their brand.
In Call of Duty, CDL, and I'm assuming this also transfers over to the Overwatch League. I think it's just Blizzard Activision in general, but you never know how they operate. But CDL, this article specifically mentioned, has lightened up their sponsorship ruling, allowing teams to partner with gambling outlets and alcohol companies. London Royal Ravens being the first to take advantage of this as they've partnered with betting website Midnight. Always thought that was the weirdest ruling, that you couldn't partner with gambling or alcohol, yet, hey,
look-
come watch our game as we shoot people in the face.
It might not be tied to Overwatch 2 just because of how sponsorships would work with your Asian-based teams, right? Like maybe that's something that they don't allow you to promote, so there could be some differences there in how they run that league. So maybe it just is for CDL, but it's something maybe we should look into. Yeah, for CDL, it didn't make sense not to allow that stuff. Like
The
that's
fan
part of the
base
culture.
is so,
Yeah.
like, I don't think you have to tell the fan base, but like, guys, don't advertise alcohol. The Stage 3 major was this weekend. You had, I mean, like, again, shame we weren't able to talk about it because it was a hell of an event. Toronto defeated Optic in the losers bracket 3-2. They lost to FaZe, and then in the finals you had FaZe versus New York. FaZe defeated them 5-2, and that was after a rematch from New York defeating FaZe, sending them to the losers bracket.
Yeah, and like just real quick on a couple of the games, that Optic Toronto game, if you're looking for some awesome COD to go watch, that was a thriller of a matchup that went to round 11 on S&D in game 5, and Toronto waxed them on that last round, but Optic Chicago played so good and like really looked like they're hopefully turning a corner for them. They played really well. Toronto is just on another level right now.
They're
Those guys
legit.
are playing
They're legit.
out of their mind, and for all the shit that we gave that org for dropping or putting methods on the bench and making the change when they did, a hell of a move. Like applaud that group because they knew what they were doing. They look really good still, even with the loss to FaZe. That also went to a game 5. FaZe just picked it up in the finals. Like I think it was tied 2-2 at one point, and there was a control. They lost. The Subliners lost the control match, and then they kind of just went downhill from there. But
Subliners
Atlanta
are still
looks
looking
great.
good. New York is still looking good. I still like them as my. I think they were like one of my picks for my underdogs of the year. Still like
Yeah,
that.
no, they are.
Unfortunately,
they're looking really good.
Unfortunately, Atlanta is on such another level though when it comes to COD, and you can really only beat them once. Unfortunately for New York, that happened in the winners finals. Yeah,
Yeah, and for Dallas, for those of you that are looking for updates from some of these bigger teams, Dallas got eliminated in round 3 lowers. They lost to
Optic.
Atlanta in the uppers 3-0, and then lost to Chicago 3-0, and they're going to be facing again just a lot of questions around them right now, right? Like these were bad losses. I'm sure for them embarrassing. but they also lost to two really good teams. So make of it what you will. Like they didn't play easy out. So, and then LA Thieves, another team a lot of people will keep an eye on. They advanced to lowers round 4, losing to Toronto Ultra there 3-1. And I don't think there's much shame in that. Like as much as the Thieves would have wanted to win that matchup, losing to Toronto right now is not a. You never want to lose, but it's not a bad thing. Those guys are just, again, playing on another level themselves. So, yeah, Dallas, questions to answer. I think there's more of an upside for what Optic and even LA to a certain extent. I think the embarrassment for LA was losing to Florida in that first round. That's one they really wanted to win there. But outside of that, I think this was a good event. Like this was a really good event, and I do think we saw the two best teams right now competing at the end. Because Subliners have looked good for a majority of the year, and FaZe has been the best team throughout the year. So, no huge upsets when it comes into the finals, I don't think.
And just a nitpick, but I still don't love the fact that they have, and I get it from a marketing standpoint, like the Final Four on Sunday, right? Like you have Championship Sunday, and it's the 4 teams playing. But the fact that if Toronto made a run, they would have to play 3 matches in one day.
With the best of 9 to cap it off.
Yeah, it's like, to me, that's a little goofy that you have a team in that scenario, but I'm not here to give you a solution.
These games are like so short though. Like they're really not. You blink and you'll miss a
No, I mean,
full,
it's true. It's I love that.
Like, it's tough. If this was Counter-Strike, I'd be like, what are you guys doing to them? Like,
if this was Counter-Strike, if this was Counter-Strike, you just hear everyone crying about competitive integrity.
You would literally be breaking labor laws if this was Counter-Strike and you tried to do that to a team.
At that point, they would win, and the prize pool would only be like you get like $1 an hour, like
pretty much what it comes out to. At least these Call of Duty matches are so fast. So yes, that would have sucked to have to play 3 in a row, but you're not doing like 7 or 8 hours of continuous playing.
In other FPS news. It's been tweeted out, so I'm just going to bring it up in this week's e-news. Halo and Xbox both obviously are turning 20 this year. Now, their birthday is not till November, but they're starting to kick off the celebration already, so you can go online and see that. Halo's doing some fun stuff there. Just wanted an excuse to bring up Halo, but also 343 Studios tweeted out, and same with the Halo Twitter account. This has got me excited. This kind of got me a little ramped up. We talked some badness about them. Well, this has already gotten me forgiving them breaking labor laws, because they have tweeted out, Anuj, that they are wanting the PC version to be built separately from the ground up, specifically made for the PC player.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I saw that also, and I think that's great. That's like the way it probably should be, especially if you want this game to be played competitively on PC. Whether that's with controller, mouse, and keyboard is a different story. But if you want the competitive side to be run on PC, you need to make that the focus for how you're going to build the game. And so that's great to hear. I'm hoping they're not celebrating early now, because in November they're going to tell us it's delayed. So the bad news is coming around the corner. But it is cool. I know the hype is, it's going to start building. Like, right, we're not too far away from wanting to itch ourselves into talking about it on the show and finding ways to do it. So
and E3 Digital's coming up here in about a month, so people are probably going to be expecting something there as far as even just an update or anything. So we're getting there. But the fact that they're looking at it as like, hey, we're going to respect PC, because that's exactly what went wrong with the Master Chief Collection coming over to PC. It itched that itch for old Halo fans. Like for me, I still play it from time to time and I like it still, but that's because it's 100% nostalgia for me. For someone like you who wasn't really a big Halo guy, it didn't do anything to impress you, because they didn't even have
I thought it was like it didn't feel like it was built for PC.
Yeah, I mean, you can't even keybind some of the mouse buttons because they just didn't register it. So hopefully it looks like Infinite's going in the right direction. And in other news, HOTS is Heroes of the Storm, for those who don't know, HOTS is set to be getting an update with multiple hero reworks and ability changes. Does it shock you more that the heroes are being reworked, or does it shock you more that HOTS is even having an update?
Like a little bit of both. Like, I didn't think there would ever be a hero update. Maybe they would still add people just for the sake of like doing something for their community.
But the fact that they care enough to rework heroes?
I think they gave up on the game too soon personally anyway. So, maybe there's some people still back there that care, and that's always good to see. Like, people are still playing the game, so it is good to see that they are.
HOTS was my MOBA, so but
Yeah,
like everyone, as soon as they announced that they weren't supporting it, it kind of died to me, and I haven't played it in a long. I played it
with
all the
our whole
time.
friends group. Everyone in our friends group, when they said that the game was dead to them, it died to us, and so no different for anybody
And
that
I
know.
was in like a beer league for it too, like an armchair adult league or whatever. Like we competed in a league, and it was a lot of fun. But yeah, as soon as Blizzard said that they were done with it, that league shut down because they were like, well, why are we gonna just even, it's like, it affect when devs say stuff like that, it's like they really need to think about before. I would rather you pull a Valve and just never update your game but once every other 2 years than to actually admit that you're not going to do anything
And tell us you quit.
right. Like that's even worse. QuakeCon has announced that this year's QuakeCon will also be held at home like last year, so they will not do an in-person LAN or anything expo. It sucks. QuakeCon, we live in Texas. We live 10 minutes from it, so it's always been our go-to just kind of fun thing we do every year. Not the LAN part, but even just going to check it out. It's always been fun. So it does suck, but you know what? I'm still in this boat of safety first. So if they feel like this is the best route to go this year, I don't blame them. This is nice for us. I don't feel the pressure to go. So
Yeah,
I'm all for it.
And look, QuakeCon did a great job from home.
Oh, they were the
stuff
best
last
ones.
year. They did a really good job of it. So they probably feel pretty good about that, and that helps make this decision a little bit easier. It doesn't sting as bad for people that did tune in last year because you're getting a good product.
Yeah, no, they were by far the best expo LAN to convert online. They were the best. So
Yeah.
Looking forward to it this year. I'm still gonna have fun. Epic reportedly offered. This is kind of shocking. Epic reportedly offered Sony $200 million to bring PlayStation exclusives to the PC.
It's like not enough, probably.
That seemed awfully low to me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and from what I read,
You're talking.
did Steam add a what happened?
Oh, go ahead and finish.
From what I read, Steam added a PS exclusive, or like it says PlayStation titles or something, and it's empty underneath it. So I wonder if Steam maybe is in the bidding to do that. But 200 million seemed low to me, and although that's an absurd, crazy high number to the normal public, like we also know how much Epic is making, so like they have a lot more in the bank, and that would have done great things for their store. Honestly, like if you could bring PlayStation titles exclusively to your store, that really would have been great. But I think they kind of lowball that number there.
I thought when I saw 200 million, I thought the same thing. I was like, because you're talking, God of War, Uncharted, Spider-Man now, which is awesome. I mean, they've already added some. I guess it's not technically whatever, but like Bloodborne, Horizon Zero Dawn, which is also on PC, but still, like, I'm assuming it would go to Epic or whatever. But still, like Last of Us, like these are huge games that are well worth more than 200 million for a PC distribution. So very odd. Like I thought the same thing. I was like, that's a
Yeah, so PlayStation Studios has created a profile on Steam that you can follow, and it has 0 titles under it, but it's like legit theirs. So
they're at least doing a placeholder.
there's something's going on. That would be awesome. I would love for PlayStation exclusives to come to PC. That'd be
It would
great.
completely eliminate any need for a console other than the Switch, which would be amazing.
Yeah, and like I'm not going to be getting a console anyway, so this is a way for me to still buy their games and give them
But even
money
like
ultimately.
5 years down the road on some Christmas deal where it's like $100 and you get 5 games with it, I don't even have to be tempted then. It's like, no, I can get them all here.
Yeah.
It'd be lovely.
Agree.
If they're actually like good ports that are worth a shit, but that's a different story. That is a different story for another episode. Anyways, that does it for episode 328 of the Center Ring Esports podcast presented by Alt. Thank you to them. Thank you to Philly Esports for sponsoring eNews. And thank you, Thorn, for being one of our most loyal listeners, listening to every second of the show. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter at the Center Ring, and join our Discord. Be a part of the conversation there, and also be the first to get any announcement for when we're doing a community night or anything else like it. We will be back Sunday. Or no, today's Sunday. We'll be back Wednesday. Valorant Major preview episode, ladies and gentlemen. It is going to be a big one. You will not want to miss it. We will be live on Twitch and YouTube, so do not miss it. We will discuss everything you need to know for the upcoming Major. But until then, for Anuj, I'm Tim. We'll see ya.